What's going on, y'all? So we're in the shop again. I'm gonna do a hydro oil change on the Ferris 2200. Y'all don't go nowhere. Alright, so everything we're gonna need is here on the floor. We got us a ratchet with the 7/16 on the end. This is a 1/4 inch drive, but you can do it with 3/8 drive, and I have a swivel on it with an extension, but you could do it without it. Some paper towels, 2 jugs of 20 W50 motor oil, regular conventional, just the cheap stuff, that's all you need. A light, a funnel, some sort of a pick or hook tool, and you're gonna need a ratchet with a 1 1/8 socket on it. Preferably a 6-sided socket, something like this one. You don't want a 12 point because it'll slip on taking the caps off. I'll show you later. And of course you're going to need some new paper oil filters from your dealer. Those aren't cheap. We also have a drain pan. You got at least 4 quarts going to come out of each wheel motor. I have it on jack stands just to make it easier on me. I actually have it jacked up in the front as well. You don't have to jack up the front. I just like it high. The higher off the ground, the better for me. That way I have a lot more room to get up under there and investigate everything. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take these caps off of the oil filters. And keep in mind that these on the 2200s are plastic. So the first ones I did, I ended up stripping it because I was using a 12-point socket, and I've learned that you don't want to use a 12-point socket and you don't want to use impact on this because you want to very carefully break it loose. And I think those caps are like $25 a piece, so you want to be careful. That one seems to work pretty good. Go ahead and set that aside in a clean spot. So here's the part number to the oil filter that you're going to need. Hopefully you can see that. Go ahead and open that up. So the filter comes with the O-ring. This goes on the cap. On the cap they'll have an old O-ring. You want to discard it and put the new one on it. And to pull the oil filter out, they've got this little spot where you can get a pick and hook it, pull it out. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. You can probably use needle nose pliers if you don't have a pick. Let that sit in there. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is go up top, and I'm going to take loose a 7/16 vent hole plug. It's at the very top of the wheel motor. Alright, I'm on the top now. I don't know if you can see, but right next to this hose on top of the wheel motor is a 7/16 bolt. And I'm going to break that loose. It's not a very long bolt. It's a fine thread, so be careful with it. It just hit the floor. I just heard it. So that's the bolt. It's got a little O-ring on it, so make sure you inspect the O-ring and make sure it's in good shape. Put that aside, don't lose that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cap off the reservoir. This one goes to that wheel motor right there. Take your cap and go clean it off real good. You see how it's dirty? And you also want to clean around here. Just be sure you don't get any of that in there. Alright. Clean. So the O-ring I said that you have to swap on the cap, you don't have to do that on this one. The 2200 has a much bigger O-ring. This is designed for the 3200 Ferris, which uses the same filter. So if you have a 3200 like I do as well, I'll just hang on to this in case damage my old one. And so all I got to do now is put this filter in after it's done draining and put the cap back on. I would be mindful on how tight you put it because it's plastic. You want it tight enough, you know, use your own judgment. I usually use one hand to tighten stuff up like that and kind of just use my own judgment. So we'll do that next. So to put the filter in, you want to put it in the same way. The black rubber grommet goes on the inside and this little part stays on the outside. It's kind of tricky to get it in there because it's in a pretty tight spot. But you want to make sure it's pushed in all the way. You'll feel it seat all the way in. It probably sits in about a ½ inch, if I had to guess. And then we'll go ahead and put the cap back on. Make sure you don't cross thread it. So you may have to play with the brake lever, the parking brake, because it's right here, kind of in the way. So to get it started, I tell you what, they don't give you much room in here to get it. It has almost zero tolerance. There you go. You got to be real careful and make sure it gets started straight. Man.
One eternity later.
It started now, after I got all over me. I'm being a little impatient. I should wait for it to all drain out just so it'd be a little cleaner, but I'm trying to get this done. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that back up. So as soon as I started feeling resistance, I just kind of give it a little quarter turn. I'm not trying to go too tight on that. Like I said, it's plastic, and it does have a pretty thick rubber O-ring on it, so it should seal good. I didn't have any leaks last time, so that side's all drained out. I'm gonna go ahead and drain this side next. Alright, went ahead and drained all of the oil out of the right wheel motor off camera and just went ahead and finished that up. Got them both tight, cleaned everything up. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is put the oil into the reservoirs. So right now I have both the 7/16 bolts out of the top of the wheel motors. That's the vent holes. This is going to allow the oil to go into the hoses and into the wheel motor much quicker with these out, and is also going to have a less chance of trapping air into the system. So leave these out for the time being. So it says 5 quarts in each one, but I'm only going to be putting 4 quarts in each. I've already took a quart out of each one and poured it into another container. That way I know I can set this jug on this side and that one on that side, and I know it's going to be an even amount. So I'm just going to start filling each of the reservoirs and letting it go down. And once I'm done pouring all 4 quarts into it, then I'm going to go to the bottom of the top of the wheel motor, I should say, and keep an eye on them. And as soon as the oil starts coming out of it, you want to take that 7/16 bolt and start it, tighten it down, and torque it down, clean it up, because you got to be real quick about it, because it's just going to keep continuing to come out of the vent hole. So just keep in mind, once you have all 4 quarts in here, keep an eye on the vent holes and screw those in. So as you're pouring these in, it takes a while. You're going to fill each of the reservoirs, and it's probably going to take 5-10 minutes for it to go all the way down. Fill it up again, 5-10 minutes all the way down. So it's a slow process. I'm going to probably speed this up real quick, but I'll show it to you. Full in the reservoir all the way to the top. It's going to slowly start draining down into the wheel motor. So I'm going to take this one, this funnel, and just put it over here. And when this gets down to the full level down here, you'll see the little mark. That's pretty much going to be around the same time as it starts coming out at the top of the wheel motor. So I'm just going to keep eye on this. I'm gonna get my wife to put the vent hole bolt back in place because it's a tight spot and she can get to it a lot quicker than I can. Alright, so there's the hole right there.
12 seconds later.
I think I see movement. Yep,
Okay,
there it is.
there it goes. It's almost impossible to do it without making a little bit of a mess, but the quicker you are, the better. And did we get it started?
Yep, it's in.
Okay. So we're just gonna tighten that up and I'm gonna clean it up real good afterwards. And I'm gonna repeat the same process in this one. Alright, so I got all 4 gallons in this reservoir. It's about 3/4 of the way up right now. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on that hole right there. As soon as the oil starts coming out, hurry up and put the bolt back in.
Moments later.
Oh,
See, there it goes. To get it started. Almost impossible to do it without getting oil everywhere.
all right, it's hand tight. You just gotta tighten it.
All right. Next step on this process is we want to disengage the wheel motors, start the engine up, work the controls back and forth. And what this is going to do is, if there's any air in the line, it's going to help purge that out. It's going to work it through the system and get it out. So we're going to do that. And to disengage the wheel motors, right under this pulley, there's a little silver lever. Just pull it backwards, and that'll disengage it. Same thing on this one. All the way back. And you also want to do that, like say if the mower breaks down and you want to push it across the yard or pull it across the yard, that's the little levers you want to disengage the wheel motors, that way it'll roll freely. All right, let's start it up. Now we're going to re-engage the wheel motors. Next step, we take it off the jack stand, put it on the ground, try it out, make sure everything is working smoothly. Keep an eye on it for the next day or so while we're using it. Make sure you don't have any leaks or any loss of fluid in your reservoirs. Make sure they're at the full level. And that's pretty much it. Y'all take it light.